So should you guys be staking your Ethereum right now on Coinbase, right? You guys see the yield coming up. You guys are taking action. You guys are buying Ethereum on Coinbase, and you see them offering you that yield, right? You see them offering the yield. All you got to do is deposit this money into this vault, and then in return, they give you 2% on your Ethereum for nothing. All you have to do is just hold it there, and they give you a big old 2% yield, right? So should you be staking your Ethereum or any of your crypto assets on a centralized exchange, on a liquid staking platform on chain, or should you become a validator yourself? Okay. So we're going to get into that. I got a question from a member of the block, soon to be client of mine. And I'm not sure if he wants to be anonymous or not. So I'm going to just leave him anonymous, but he asked me a question regarding Ethereum, okay? The brother has been taking massive amounts of action, which I love, all right? He has been dollar cost averaging. He's put himself on a DCA schedule, working very hard in the real world to go make more dollars and then convert it to crypto, okay? He's starting to stack some ETH. I believe he said he had about 2 ETH right now already, which is fantastic. That's a great start. Brother, to Ethereum is nothing to sneeze at, especially if you're getting in as early as you are, okay? I think you'll thank yourself for that later, okay? But he sees, the thing is that he's on Coinbase and he sees that Coinbase is offering him a 2% yield, a big old 2% yield, right? Coinbase is offering him a 2% yield to just leave his money on Coinbase, and then in return, he just makes money on his money, right? Well, it's not that simple. Okay, it's not that simple, and we're going to break that down. We're going to break down staking right now, what it means, should you be doing it, what you should do instead if you shouldn't be doing it, and all the different options that you have, okay? But before we get into the video, I want to let you guys know that nothing in this video is financial advice. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm not your financial counselor. What you do with your money is up to you, and you need to take responsibility for your buys and sells, okay? With that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, so I think the first thing that we need to do is we need to identify what staking is, all right? That word is thrown around a lot, and I don't think a lot of people really understand what it means. Okay, so we're gonna break that down, what staking is, okay? So the first thing that we need to talk about is there's different forms of staking, okay? Essentially what staking is staking is in some way or form locking up your coins and agreeing not to sell them, okay? There's all this complicated jargon out there. Essentially, on the network level, all right, staking is a way to lock up capital, and essentially you agree with the network to lock up capital, and then you become a validator to help secure the network and validate transactions on the network that you're on. So if you have Ethereum, you agree to lock up 32 ETH. That might change based on Ethereum's recent upgrades and upgrades in the future. But 32 ETH, if you have 32 Ethereum, you can become your own validator, which means that you get paid to validate transactions on the Ethereum blockchain. And all you have to do is lock up your coins, and then you get essentially you get part of the inflation from the Ethereum network, okay? In short, that's what that means, okay? So there's different forms of staking, right? That's the original staking, okay? Staking is becoming a validator on the blockchain, and that requires a decent amount of technical knowledge, okay? Most people should not be staking and becoming validators on Ethereum, okay? Most people don't have the capital to be able to become a validator. But even if you don't have the capital, there's other products that we're gonna get into next that offer you the same yield, basically, all right? They take a cut, of course, but basically you could go through a liquid staking platform. You could stake your ETH, you get a liquid staking derivative of your ETH while you're staking, and then you can move that ST ETH around, okay? So that's the first thing, is you can become a validator, okay? The second thing that you could do is you could buy what I just talked about, which is a liquid staking platform, okay? That's Lido, that is Rocket Pool, that are these other staking platforms. And then basically, if you don't have 32 Ethereum, you can then basically, they've created a product where you can cluster your money in through a smart contract with a bunch of other people who don't have 32 Ethereum. You could put your money together, and then you all earn the yield. And then it allows more staked ETH, which means that Ethereum, the network, is more secure, and it's just overall a good thing. Now, there are problems that Lido like Lido has for the entire Ethereum network, but we don't have to get into that today, okay? And then, so that's the second form of staking. The first one is to become a validator. The second one is to become a liquid staker, or use a liquid staking platform to lock up your ETH, and then in return, you get the yield, okay, through their dApp by interacting with their dApp, okay? And the third way is through an exchange, right? This is the most common one. I get questions about this a lot. I've gotten like 3 or 4 this week, and it's about centralized exchanges, okay? Coinbase, you're leaving your ETH on Coinbase, right? And they are offering you a 2% yield, all right? Now, the reason why they do this, you guys, is because they want you to leave your ETH on Coinbase so that they have more liquidity and they own essentially they own your Ethereum. And we'll get into that a little bit later. But the reason why they're giving you a 2% yield is because they're going to take that Ethereum, they're going to stake it themselves, and they're going to get maybe, let's just say as an example, it's 2.3%. They give you 2%, and then they take the 0.3% in the middle, right? That's kind of how that works, okay? So they're giving you a yield, right? And they're giving you a very small yield. And in exchange, you leave your money on Coinbase because you think the yield is so great, and you're just staking it, and it's not leaving. So Coinbase has that money, right? And then they're making money on your money, similar to the way that banks make money on your dollars. They're making money on your ETH, okay? Same thing, essentially, okay? Now, the other thing that we need to talk about with staking is that in a lot of cases, there's lockup times, okay? So the trade-off to this, right? The trade-off to staking is that in most cases, most times staking has a lockup period, which means that you agree to stake your Ethereum for 6 months, or you agree to stake your Ethereum for 9 months. Not always the case, but a lot of times staking comes with lockup times. So you essentially make a deal with whoever you're staking with that you're not gonna sell these coins, and basically you get a yield. Okay. Now, there's a difference, and this is a very good thing, okay, for token economics, right? If you get essentially enough people to lock up their coins and agree not to sell them, that's if a decent amount of your supply of your token is locked, then it's a lot easier for the circulating coins that are on the margin that determine the price to shoot up high. Okay, so essentially, lockup incentives are a part of the reasons why a lot of tokens pump very high, because a lot of the supply of the token is locked up, which means that the remaining supply is so scarce, and if demand increases or stays the same, the price goes up. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Essentially, a good way to make a coin pump is to give people a reason to hold the coins and ideally lock them up and agree not to sell them. Okay, so let's talk about the difference between proof of stake and proof of work, right? Mining versus staking, essentially. So Bitcoin, for you guys, there's Bitcoin miners. We're not going to get too much into the details. We're just going to touch on tokenomics a little bit, okay? And then staking is essentially, instead of there being miners on Ethereum, there's now stakers, since Ethereum went to they switched from proof of work to proof of stake, okay? Now, tokenomics-wise, this is a very good thing, because when you're a Bitcoin miner, basically what that means is that when you mine Bitcoin, yes, you are getting inflation from Bitcoin or the issuance of Bitcoin. You are essentially printing money or printing Bitcoin with your machine. The problem it's not a problem, but one thing that people don't talk about enough with proof of work and mining is that with that comes a lot of electricity cost and overhead expenses, right? You have to pay for the machine. So you're locking your money up too when you buy Bitcoin, because you're basically buying a piece of hardware that is supposed to print you Bitcoin. And then on top of that, you have electricity expenses that you have to pay. So let's say that you are mining Bitcoin for a month. When your electricity bill comes around, Bitcoin is very, very high computation power. So that bill is going to be pretty expensive. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to sell a portion of your profits. If you're operating a business, you're going to have to sell a portion of your Bitcoin or whatever you have, or if you have cash, you just pay for it that way. and basically to pay for your overhead. Okay. Now, and this creates, what this does over time is this creates actually sell pressure for the asset, because when you're mining, there's more expenses, there's more friction, therefore there's more incentives to sell the asset and in order to pay for those expenses. Okay. Whereas in Ethereum or in any proof of stake or any type of staking mechanism, you're essentially just agreeing to lock up your coins, and there is a trade-off, but there's no friction in terms of the token price, right? If you essentially, the trade-off is that you can't sell your coins at a certain point. Now it depends on the protocol, it depends on the network, but in general, if we're talking about lockup periods, the downside is that you can't sell your coins for a period of time. Okay, so that's kind of the difference between mining and staking. Okay. I wanted to just briefly go over that. I didn't want to go too much into it. Okay. But the other thing is that, so the reason why Coinbase gives you the yield is because they make money on that money. And then on top of that, it increases the amount of liquidity that stays on Coinbase, which means that they have more reserves, which means that they're more safe, secure, and things like this. Okay. So I kind of went through briefly what staking is, and the answer to your question, okay, the answer to your question for if you should stake or not is no. You shouldn't stake your Ethereum on Coinbase. All right. Now, why shouldn't you stake your Ethereum? Okay. Well, for one, the first reason is because, guys, the yield, 2% yield is not high enough for you guys to be putting your money on Coinbase and leaving your money on exchange. Okay. Now, if you guys leave your money on exchange, I've made videos about this previously, okay, that you're essentially, you're putting yourself at counterparty risk when you leave money on centralized exchanges, okay? If something happens to that exchange, or something happens to your money, or if your email gets compromised, or something like this, or it's a lot easier to hack you, it's a lot easier to get access to your Coinbase account than get access to your wallet that has your own private keys, as long as you don't share it with anybody and you keep it secure and you follow the best practices that I talk about. Okay. So the yield on Ethereum, 2% yield is nothing, right? If you guys are dealing with hundreds of millions of dollars, if you guys are dealing with 50 million even, or 10 million, or something like this, 2% is a massive amount of money if you're staking that much, right? So for an institution, staking Ethereum makes sense. For you, though, does it make sense for you? No, in most cases. For you, in your situation, you have 2 Ethereum. Okay, you're just starting out, which is a beautiful thing. But essentially what you're doing is you're picking up pennies in front of freight trains by staking your Ethereum and leaving it on Coinbase. Okay. So, I mean, listen, man, if you're trying to yield farm, if you're trying to stake, if you're trying to like stake where it's worth it, if you want that, okay, then you should probably get a coaching call with me, and I can teach you some actual ways to yield farm where it's actually worth the counterparty risk. Okay, staking your Ethereum for 2%, there's not really a reason to do it, right? You're putting yourself at too much risk. Now, if you had no other options, let's say you had no other options and you just wanted to leave your money on Coinbase, and you were just, you didn't want to self-custody, you didn't want to improve that aspect, and you didn't want to maximize your security, and you didn't want to advance more in the crypto space, then if you're just going to leave your money on Ethereum, or if you're going to leave your Ethereum on Coinbase, might as well stake it, right? But what I'm telling you to do is to take your money off of the exchange and put it in your own self-custodial wallet for a variety of reasons, okay? Number one is you can use that Ethereum for more opportunities. If you have your Ethereum on chain in your own wallet, that means you can interact more, that you have access to more coins. You have access to coins before they get listed on exchanges, which is where all the gains are. But we could talk about that on a coaching call, okay? But basically, guys, if the yield and the APY is not a lot, there's no point of you yield farming and putting yourself at counterparty risk. You're better off just holding your coins liquid in your wallet, just doing nothing, okay? You're better off just holding your coins liquid and doing nothing. If you guys want to actually yield farm and you guys actually want to put your capital to work in a way that is actually lucrative for you and it's actually worth the counterparty risk, then I would recommend getting on a coaching call with me, and we could talk about some opportunities that I see and some opportunities that me and my guys have been utilizing. Okay. The most recent example that we've gotten into was Shadow. Okay. For you guys that have been following me since the beginning or knew me before I was even on YouTube or social media, we printed money on Shadow. Okay. Shadow was 700% APR, APY for a long time. It's down to about 100, or maybe even it's less than that now. But guys, 70%, 100%, 200%, 300%, this is where we want to be, okay? On top of that, the Shadow coin went from $8 to $183 in like a month and a half. So not only did we get all that yield, not only were we printing money on the tokens, but the token also went up. So it was like double, it was gains on gains. We were yield farming, we were printing the inflation of Shadow, and then on top of that, the price of the token went up so much that like we robbed the bank with that one, right? Now, if you guys want to get opportunities like that, that's a different story than staking your ETH for 2%, right? 2% is nothing in crypto. There's so many better opportunities for you if you actually want to stake and you actually want to yield farm. There's so many more opportunities if you know where to look and you know what to look for, okay? So that's number one, or that's number two, I should say. Lockup periods, guys, in bull markets can be dangerous as well. So if you agree to lock up your coins for a year, and we're expecting the bull market to end late 2025, you're going to be, by the time your coins get unlocked, we're going to be dipping and we're going to be in a bear market, right? You want to be able to, if you're going to stake, if you're going to lock up your coins, you want to try to lock up in a period. You want to position yourself in a way that when the lockup ends, that the coins are going to be higher than when you stake them, because not then you were getting the yield, and then on top of that, you get the appreciation of the token, okay? The problem is that there's a lot of variables that can change. So locking up your coins can be risky, okay? They can be risky. It can be a lot riskier to lock up your coins unless you're in the asset for a very, very long term. If you have that strong of conviction in the asset, which in most things in crypto, I don't recommend you have. I recommend you stick to blue chips, and then everything else is a tool to get more of the blue chips, more Bitcoin, more Ethereum, more Solana, right? That's the play, at least as of right now, okay? So the counterparty risk, I touched on this a little bit earlier, but the counterparty risk and the risk of leaving your money on exchanges, you guys, is not worth it, okay? You guys have to understand, when you guys leave your money on Coinbase, when you leave a significant amount of money on Coinbase, you don't own that crypto, all right? I'm going to say that again. If you own your money on Coinbase, if you put your money on Coinbase, you think those are your assets, they're not. Okay, the way crypto works, you guys, is that if you guys don't have the coins list like in your own wallet, if you don't own the private keys, if you don't own the 12 seed words, if you don't own the 24 word seed words, and you don't have that secured, okay, if you don't have that, if you don't have the keys to the crypto, all the crypto is just variables on a database. All right, it doesn't mean anything. You don't own it. If you don't own the keys, you don't own the coins. Okay. That's the way it works. So those keys, the keys, when you create your own wallet and you get those keys, all the variables in the database that's put on that wallet, those keys that is your money. Okay. That's the most simple way that I can put it. Okay. So you're putting yourself at exchange risk by leaving your money on Coinbase for the 2% yield. On top of that, the 2% yield isn't really worth anything. You're better off just keeping your coins liquid, putting your money on a on-chain exchange or on-chain wallet, and then maybe opportunities come up. Maybe me and you get in a coaching call. Maybe you see an opportunity that you want to take. You talk to me about it. You get on a consultation, and then you end up making more money because you have that Ethereum liquid in your own wallet, and you can interact with the thing that you see, right? So that's the other thing. Okay. Number three is, you guys don't want to be picking up pennies in front of freight trains, okay? You guys don't want to be picking up pennies in front of freight trains. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get some yield. You're trying to scrape some yield up that's not going to make a difference, really, okay? Let me explain what I mean. If you're getting a 2% APR on $1,000, right? You're not getting really any money. You're getting $20 for a year. All right. That's not really worth it at all. Okay. You're putting yourself at counterparty risk for little to no money, as an example. Okay. The appreciation of the token that you buy is going to be way, way, way more important. So basically what I'm saying is that holding on to your coins is going to be way more important for you than, you know, getting the little yield. Okay. So you just have to prioritize what, I'm basically saying just to prioritize security over a little bit of scrapey yield, right? It's not really worth it if it's 2% on your Ethereum and Coinbase is just using that money, staking it themselves, and then making the middle, right? That's kind of how that works. So if you have big money to play with, I think I touched on this a little bit earlier, but if you have big money to play with, you guys, this is a little bit different, okay? This is a little bit different. If you have money to play with, if you have 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, 40 million, staking at 2% actually can be a solid income source for you. And maybe that's worth it risk adjusted. Okay, risk adjusted, maybe that is worth staking your Ethereum. Okay, if you're dealing with that much money. If you have 32 ETH, you know, it can be a little bit more lucrative than if you're playing with 1 Ethereum, 2 Ethereum, 3 Ethereum. And this is why I talk about your individual situation is so important. Maybe for a guy in that situation, I would say maybe staking your Ethereum isn't a bad idea, right? But for you, it's not. Okay, it's not worth it. For you, you just hold your coins liquid. You continue to accumulate. You focus on taking profits. You focus on finding an opportunity where you can compound that Ethereum and cultivate your crypto. Okay, and that's what I would recommend your focus to be. You're better off doing that. Okay. So what's the solution? What do I recommend, right? What do I recommend to you? What do I recommend to everybody who's wondering if they should be staking their Ethereum on Coinbase or any type of counterparty risk? Staking your Ethereum in general, really. Coinbase is a easy example because a lot of new people see that yield and they want to hold their money on Coinbase. And that's exactly what they want you to do, right? They want you to see that yield and be like, oh, I'm earning 2% on my money. And then then you leave your coins there because you don't realize that there's better opportunities. Guys, if you guys move your money off the exchange and you go put it in your own wallet, you look around on DeFi, if you know what to look for and you get some help from me, I can get you more than 2% on your Ethereum, right? So if you actually want to get yield on Ethereum, you know, we could talk about that and we can get a lot more than 2%, right? Coinbase is giving you 2% because that's how they make money, right? But how are you going to make the most money, right? How are you going to make the most money with your Ethereum, with your capital, right? Your capital that you have, how are you going to allocate that to actually make as much on your coins as you possibly can, right? Put them to work for you, right? So what do you do, right? I talked about staking. I broke down staking. I broke down why you shouldn't stake your money on Coinbase. What should you do, brother? Okay. And I'm going to tell you right now. Okay. The first thing that you should do is you should take your ETH off of the exchange. I mentioned this earlier, but you need to take your money off of the exchange, take your money off of Coinbase, stop staking your Ethereum for your 2%, and you need to take it off and you need to put it in your own self-custody wallet. You need to create a MetaMask or you need to create a Rabby wallet, whatever you feel comfortable with. I would probably recommend MetaMask just because it's the tried and true. MetaMask is very solid. I would recommend using desktop because the mobile version sucks on MetaMask, okay? But get a MetaMask wallet, okay, and self-custody your crypto. Write your seed words down on a piece of paper and lock them up to where nobody can access them, okay? Okay, keep your ETH liquid in your own wallet and don't stake your Ethereum. Staking your Ethereum, if you want to get a little bit of yield, you're picking up pennies in front of freight trains, you're putting yourself at counterparty risk. You're better off just holding your ETH liquid and continuing to accumulate and continuing to build a bag, okay? Because you're just starting out. So that's what I would recommend to you, okay? Now, in terms of if you want to learn how to safely yield farm, once you build the position a little bit, I would say once you get a little bit more capital in the market and your position size is a good amount where you could throw a little bit of money to yield farm and stuff like that, I would recommend a coaching call with me. And we could talk about how to safely do it. I could explain to you all the details about how liquidity pools work, how impermanent loss works, how to essentially choose the right things. I can tell you what I recommend, tell you what I like, tell you where I think the yield farm incentives are. All right, I can tell you all that stuff. But for right now, I think for you, it's continuing to accumulate. It's learning how to self-custody, get your money off of Coinbase, putting your money in your own wallet to where you don't have to worry about counterparty risk, okay? Holding your money in your own wallet, recording your keys. Once you have a decent enough bag in Ethereum, grab a coaching call with me, and then we'll work on good opportunities for you if there is any at that time. It all depends on what the market gives us, right? We don't tell the market what to do. We react to the market. The market tells us what to do, right? That's how it works. So I hope you found this useful, my brother. I hope you're doing well, and I hope this video finds you well. I would say self-custodying your crypto and learning that skill is your number one priority right now. And if you want help with that on how to do it safely, get a coaching call with me. You know how to contact me, all right? So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, 25-minute video, but I think I broke down a lot. I simplified a lot of stuff too. I tried to talk and go through a lot in a short amount of time, but I hope you guys got the message, and I hope you, most importantly, got the message, brother. So thank you guys. If you guys want to follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all of them are Chase Your Grace. Link down in the description. If you want to get a coaching call with me, jump in the Telegram chat and message me privately. All right. If you guys want me to talk about something, you can reach out to me, and depending on the content, I'll make a video about it. All right. And I hope you guys have a good day or night, wherever you may be. Bless up.